Pastor David here, and I am in the Blue Ridge Mountains in the state of Virginia. Now, in Southern California, a lot of you don't know anything about the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's one of the most beautiful places in the United States of America. And I'm just going to step out of the way so you can see just how fantastic that is. See those mountains back there? It's just beautiful. Now, some of you are sitting there thinking, Pastor David, you've lost your mind. There's no mountains back there. Oh, but there are. Joni and I were here yesterday, and we saw those beautiful mountains. But today you can see all these clouds. We're getting a lot of rain today. And this is a scenic overlook, and this is all you see. Now, there's a reason why I want you to see this. Actually, I wish you could see the beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountains. But life's a lot like this, isn't it? When we get to the overlook and we're looking at the view of life, there's just not much to see. Maybe it's gray, maybe it's dreary, maybe as we look forward, it just seems so empty and so futile. Life can be that way so much of the time. In fact, even in 1 Corinthians 13, when Paul's given us the love chapter, he gets to the end of that chapter. And before he says, now abide faith, hope, and love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. He talks about right now we see dimly, but then one day we'll see face to face. And this is the dimly. And we've got to have an imagination to know what it is that we're actually looking at. And the Bible tries to give us a picture of that. My mind's on Hebrews chapter 11 today, where it talks about in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Yes, there are Blue Ridge Mountains out there. I believe that. I have confidence in that. It goes on and says, for by it the men of old gained approval. With that kind of faith, that kind of conviction. And then it goes on in verse 3, by faith we understood the worlds were prepared by the word of God. Verse 4, by faith Abel. Verse 5, by faith Enoch. Goes on in verse 6 and says, without faith it's impossible to please him, for he who comes to God must believe that he is, and that he's a rewarder of those who seek him. I can see it. I'm looking into the distance. But it goes on and says in verse 7, by faith Noah. Verse 8, by faith Abraham. And it talks about his life. And then we get down to verses 13 through 16. All these died in faith without having received the promises. They never saw exactly what they were receiving by faith, and they died before any of that happened. Excuse me, my pages are sticking together with rain. But they, having seen them and having welcomed them from a distance and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on earth, for those who say such things make it clear that they're not seeking a country of their own. And indeed, if they had been thinking of that country from which they went out, they would have had opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is a heavenly one. Therefore, God is, let me get back to my page here. God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Verse 17, by faith Abraham. Verse 20, by faith Isaac. Verse 21, by faith Jacob. Verse 22, by faith Joseph. Verse 23, by faith Moses. Verse 29, by faith they, talking about Israel. Verse 31, by faith Rahab. Verse 32, what more shall I say? For time will fail me to tell of Gideon and Barak and Simeon. It could go on. And we get down to verses 39 and 40. All these, having gained approval through their faith, did not receive what was promised, because God had provided something better for us. That's why they didn't receive it, because of something better for us, because God prepared something better for us, so that apart from us, they should not be made perfect. And here's the encouragement. Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, those who by faith, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us. Let us run with endurance the faith, the race that's set before us. Let's don't give up. Let's also have that faith that there's something out there, that there is a better country. There's a heavenly city that we've been prepared for. And let's fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of God. For consider him who has endured such hostility by sinners against himself, so that you may not grow weary and lose heart. See, we have to look into the distance. there is something that awaits us. Life is dim now. We've got the pain of living in this world, the heartache of living in this world, the sin of living in this world, things that we say we wish we could grab back, things that we think that we'd be ashamed that people know, things that we do that we have to confess. All these things that we're up against in our world, so many things that confront us in our culture and even globally. And we have to, by faith, look unto Jesus. There is a city prepared for us. So can I encourage us today? Let's walk by that faith. Let's walk believing that God is moving everything in a direction, that He is doing something, and that we're a part of that. May God be with you today and give you eyes to see that which seems so dim and far in the distance. God bless you.